Well, thank you very much. Welcome everybody to my presentation on personas, where I would like to show you how we use this instrument to accelerate stakeholder acceptance of agrivoltaics. And I promise I will also talk about coffee, because I think some of us might need one at that point. So let's get started by introducing. Okay. Does the next slide pop up?
No.
Now?
Now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's start by introducing who we are. I'm today presenting research by Jessica Aschemann Witzel and myself, Gabriele Torma from Aarhus University in Denmark. And we are part of a bigger team, of the Hyperfarm team, which is a European Union project. And what we in general do is we develop agrivoltaic systems in Belgium, Germany, and Denmark. We have each a pilot site to look at. We talk about and look into business cases and also how hydrogen production and usage can be combined with it. And our specific focus in this presentation is about the public acceptance of agrivoltaics. Why is this important at all? Well, I promised to talk about coffee. Let's take coffee just as an everyday product we all like to have once in a while. And when we enter a coffee shop, then these people have an idea what we actually want. And we will decide if we buy or not, if we enter this shop or another, if they fulfill our needs. If we like the shop and the coffee and so on. This is a simple buy or not buy example of a product. So if there is a new coffee coming to the market, they will make sure in advance to develop in it a way that we like it and will accept it. But if we look at innovations like agrivoltaics, we are talking about something where we hope this is part of a solution to address climate change, the energy crisis, and so on. And if we go so big, then we also have to consider it's not one person, one farmer, one project manager who will decide if he or she wants to buy it or not. Then we are looking at something where many, many stakeholders on very different levels are involved. And we want to make sure that they also somehow think and feel positive about this innovation. And there will be for sure very different interests. And this is why we look into it, to ensure that from the early on, when we look at such innovations as agrivoltaics, we consider and know at least what kind of different interests are out there so we can take them into consideration. And one way acceptance of agrivoltaic is studied. Here's just an example of a research paper that highly recommended. One I also looked at the very beginning, and was the deepest respect. I want to say, whoa, these kind of pictures, the first reaction is so much factors that are somehow involved in social acceptance of agrivoltaics. And this is just one of many pictures. Well, what to do with it now? I mean, this is for the first impression is this is complicated. A lot is going on, and what can I now do with it? And somehow this inspired us to also do something in our research group that is maybe more easy to digest and therefore hopefully also useful when we look into how to drive acceptance of agrivoltaics. Here is a persona, if you were wondering what that is. And we are talking again about coffee. So a persona is the actual picture, the story of this person you see here. This is Janelle Robinson, 26-year-old. She's a PhD. And she, for example, she is looking at her as a coffee consumer. She wants strong coffee and she wants a quiet atmosphere in the coffee shop to work and focus. And she's just one persona, this coffee shop chain that is using her. They have maybe 3 or 5 of such personas. And why would they use them and what for? Well, she presents in this case a typical key consumer, that somebody they want to make happy, so she's coming back, buying the coffee, using the place. And now comes the fun point about this persona. Well, Janelle Robinson doesn't exist at all. She is a fictitious character because that is what a persona is. So we look here not at a specific person, but from a lot of data, a lot of research people are doing, or statistical data, or deep qualitative data, we want to somehow take out the quintessence of it. And that is then transformed in one or a few of such personas that represent critical consumers, stakeholders, users. And if you wonder if this is a new idea, no, it is not. This is actually a well-known concept from user experience design, where they use this, for example, for programming product interfaces, because they want to early on know the needs, goals, and frustrations of their users. And that is the main aim that personas are going to provide. Looking at them, understanding this type of character is about to avoid failure in the product development process early on. And the example I brought you here is we actually went through such a process, and this is also what we contribute with today. We show you how to make such personas, and we also want to present you and hear how useful you find them. So here you see in the right corner Ines persona, and you see that the persona is a bit similar to, like I showed you, the coffee shop persona. There is a name, a short biography, a picture, a quote, and we summarize the goals, needs, and frustrations of Ines in the context of agrivoltaics. So creating personas, we think, can be an additional and helpful way of summarizing all the different stakeholder perceptions out there on agrivoltaics, specifically at that early stage. And I know some of you might think, well, we are not that early, we are doing this for years, but we all know if we talk to people on the streets, they will say, agrivoltaics, never heard about it, what is that? And it's just good to know early on a very broad level, and on what people think about agrivoltaics to incorporate that. And now let me talk about how we created these personas and why you should trust them. Well, these personas that we did, the 6 I'm bringing with me today, they are based on interviews, 27 interviews with very different stakeholders from Belgium, Denmark, and Germany, based on the project that I introduced at the very beginning. And we talked to farmers, farmer organizations, journalists, politicians, municipality planners, researchers. So a bunch of very different people that have been in contact with agrivoltaic or also have not been, like environmental nature organizations and so on. And the aim is to not see what most people think that is of high importance and we incorporated that, but mostly to also broadly get a sense of what different opinions are going on. This is a summary of the process, of the qualitative research process, how we think that such personas can be produced so that they are useful and grounded in the actual data that someone has. After having interviewed the people, one has to transcribe them. That is step 1. And then you have them in written and you start to code. And then we extract the things that we think are valuable regarding the goals, the motivations, the needs, the drivers, the frustrations and barriers people formulated regarding agrivoltaics. And in a third step, we start to cluster them. So instead of all the different things, we try to bring in the main themes and to kind of, it's the bone. That's why it's called the persona skeleton. It's just the bones, the hard facts that we start to combine. And in step 4, we add the flesh to it. So the name, the short biography, the picture, the quote, we organize them so that they somehow make a nice story that is not contradicting. There are not contradicting stories in one persona. And even so, it looks like a linear process. Well, I can assure you it's not. Like often with qualitative research, we go all the time back and forth because we have to make sure, is this still does that make sense? Is that based on the data? Are there any contradictions? Do we miss something? Did we let go an important topic, and so on? But at the very end, we sent our 6 final personas out to 5 experts from the project and outside the project with a different level of expertise on agrivoltaics, and got very valuable feedback that we also took in for the finalization of our personas. And let me now introduce you to Karl Persona. Karl Persona is 38 years old. He is a livestock farmer and also part-time employed at the farming business. And he, one of the main themes that he formulates here is, well, agrivoltaics seem interesting, but it sounds quite complicated to me. And that is, as an example, Persona, a very good one, because that theme has been kind of a red thread to many interviews we had, that people think when they first learn about it or have heard about it already, well, they totally buy it, a win-win-win situation, combination of so much. But in detail, they also start to think, but it sounds also complicated. I don't actually know how to get started here. And I think, there may be so many problems. So that is something that one has to keep in mind. And when we've also heard a lot about already from the people talking before me. And just to give you a few of examples, for example, a goal that Karl has is that he as a farmer would like to get self-sufficient. So this is one of the motivations also driving him being interested in agrivoltaics. What he lacks, what he needs is way more clear definitions in his local area. What is agrivoltaics? What is the minimum percentage of agricultural land use? Will there be subsidies? Will he lose subsidies? And way more very specific questions that he has. Frustrations that he is normally facing in the context of agrivoltaics is that he feels it is very hard to assess the resistance, the local resistance against or for such an installation. And he actually really dislikes to be the evil in the environmental debate as a farmer. So we got this information that many farmers also interested in agrivoltaics or to become fossil-free farms to somehow change this more negative image of being somebody who drives the environmental crisis instead of doing something good. That was just as a teaser and an example. Let me end with highlighting what we think that we contributed today, is that we showed you what personas are, why we think they are useful, because they are a memorable and engaging way of understanding what people think about agrivoltaics, and still based on good data. And we also think that they can guide people in different agrivoltaics projects and ideas they want to start with. I added some literature for those interested what this all was based on. If you want to do your own personas, maybe in your local context, because it could be very interesting to see how that in other contexts and countries is perceived. And just as a background, while some of you might want to think about questions, I present you to our 6 personas in total. Thank you very much.